Welcome to Real Talk with Karia Christopher, the conversation. Our new season is filled with heart-to-heart dialogues, always unscripted and always unedited. We tackle issues from the bedroom to the boardroom. No topic is left unturned. We inspire and we ignite. We go where no one else dares, but always with dignity and flair. Join us for a new season of Real Talk as we learn, love, and laugh together. Hello BVI, hello Caribbean, and hello world. My name is Karia Christopher here at the Karia Christopher Studios. We are delighted for this season to promote living, learning, loving, and just having fun. We understand that through that pandemic, the world has been really struggling and persons are emotionally overwhelmed. But we have some good news. I think today is a good news day. We wanted to be able to speak to persons who have a story to tell, who speak their truth, and through their truth, we can also learn about the journey. Most times we see people and we see their lives and we wonder, well, how did they get there? And today is just a day where we get to learn a little bit more about the lives of two daughters of the soil, two beautiful young ladies, and yes, gorgeous, beautiful young ladies. And I'm so pleased for the first time on this show, I have both Dr. Stephanie Vanterpool, who happens to be a classmate. Child, we're going to talk about how come she looked younger than me just now. And no stranger to my brand, Dr. Shakima Stoutt-Ottley. Ladies, doctors, it's so wonderful to see you both.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be
Welcome. So in the intro, we kind of spoke about why you were here. And I think globally, man, a year and a half, almost 2 years, it's been such a tough transition. My daughter Cody likes to say that she wants to make the language of psychology and counseling just an everyday language. And we here in the BVI are far from that. It's been such a stressful space when persons have lost their jobs, underemployed, unemployed, not being able to see each other. I think we need some good news. And I really was so happy when you both decided to come on the show just to give us a little insight on your journey. Now, you both are doctors and well-established, pristine doctors in your craft. And that's a journey to be proud of. So I'm going to start from my right next to me. Dr. Vanterpool, now you and I went to school together. Child, I'm going to say, let me make this disclaimer. The reason that she looks just a little bit younger than me is because she lives in a state where it's not hot and not enough humidity. But after I get to Dr. Stoutt-Ottley, she's going to smooth me down. It's so good to see you. It's so wonderful to see you. You are, pain specialist.
Yes, ma'am.
Give me that fancy title of yours because I don't want to butcher it up.
So I am an assistant professor of anesthesiology at the University of Tennessee Medical Center in Knoxville. But really what I am at heart is what we call a targeted pain treatment specialist. Mm-hmm. So that what that means is that I've really made it my life's work to really help patients reclaim relief and function by treating the underlying cause of their pain that's stopping them from doing what they want to do.
Their physical pain.
Their physical
Correct.
pain. Yes, ma'am.
Great. Miss Dr. Shakima Stoutt-Ottley, I know you're a dermatologist. I've seen you a million times through my children. So you see, you have to spend the money on the kids and then you could leave yourself later. But now it's time to smooth me out. But talk to me about why you decided to go into the specialized field of dermatology.
I would like to say that it wasn't one of those easy decisions. Like, you know what? I was a little girl. I wanted to be a dermatologist. And then I just made that decision. For me, my original passion was gynecology. I really wanted to be an obstetrician and gynecologist. My mom had lost 3 babies. She miscarried. And emotionally, she couldn't recover. And I decided from a very young age, the only thing for me is I want to be a doctor. I want to help. I don't want to see another woman suffer the way my mother had. But then when I got to the point of my internship, which I did in Bahamas, and I did my rotation on the infectious diseases and dermatology unit, it really just transformed my passion because I saw everything. When you look at skin, it tells you a whole story. And when you look at immunocompromised skin, then you are going to see the full spectrum of whatever that condition is. So then I decided I need to look into this, learn a lot more, And then my passion grew from there.
So we will talk a little bit more later to you, because most times when persons hear dermatologist, most insurers never even used to want to make that coverage because it's very much the aesthetics of what persons look like. And I'm so happy you talked about the immune compromised skin and all of those things, like skin cancer and all of those things that the average person never identifies with a dermatologist. They identify you as just having beautiful skin, and all the celebrities want to have that, and you want to get your wrinkles out, and you want to get the mustache off and all of that stuff. So I'm so happy that you're here to give us a little bit more detail on what you do. Now, your role, Dr. Vanterpool, we see you all in our commercials here. We are so proud of you for being internationally known. I feel like you're my sister because I am so proud of both of you in the fields. And I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about before this journey to becoming a doctor, which can take upwards of 10, 12 years of your adult life.
Yes.
You have a son.
I do.
And you're married.
Yes.
And that is something that's difficult in the space that you're in. Tell me about that journey of going to school and deciding to have a family and still being on the top of your game. Because people are going to wonder, well, how is she getting it done? Is it practical for me? What has been your journey in that?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Before the show, Shakima and I were talking about just the challenges of navigating your ambition and keeping yourself in alignment in terms of what your professional, your personal goals might be. So for me, yes, the journey to becoming a pain specialist, so board certified in both anesthesiology and pain management, was your 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, 4 years of residency, 1 year of fellowship, still going.
13.
And
I'm counting as 13 so far, yes.
And then working in, in private practice, or in now my current job in academic practice. And through that time, it's not something I could have ever done without the support of my family, specifically my husband, Reginald. He has been amazingly supportive in terms of helping keep us kind of on track and keep the goals central, and honestly pushing me to go above and beyond what it was that I thought I could even necessarily strike for. He always encouraged me to move beyond. And none of this would have started without the encouragement of my family, of course. You know, Dr. Hesketh Vanterpool, Jean Vanterpool, and my siblings, and really just the example that they gave to keep me committed and to keep me motivated to know that I could achieve more and just keep working at it.
So you had a great and strong support system.
Absolutely. It's necessary. You know, it's not impossible to do without a strong support system, but it's a whole lot easier to do when you have a strong support system.
And you know, when persons, for instance, when you and I were younger, the great thing was to do a doctor or a lawyer. Very small percentage of us got to that stage. I know I was speaking to a cousin of mine the other day, and he was like, he built a bench. Brilliant. I couldn't, it looked like something from IKEA or so. I thought that he ordered it from IKEA. And he said, and it's a quick story, but he basically said he was in 4 wood and 5 wood.
Yes.
He was like, they call him the Dunsey boy, and now this guy is an architect now. And the point that he was making was that the system back then discouraged anyone from being those great top line jobs if you weren't good in math, in English, the basic things. So just thankfully the system has changed and it's upgraded itself since then. But the one thing that's still a deterrent factor for persons to be in the medical profession, Dr. Stoutt, I'm going to ask you this because I know that Dr. Stephanie, she had the support of her parents, and everybody knows Dr. Hesketh Vanterpool is not a Karia Christopher. He is not broke. So we know that you probably had a little bit more comfortable setting than everybody else, but the detractor, so for instance, my daughter wants to be a doctor, and I ask her every single day, girl, you sure? I tried to have her say, no, I changed my mind because it's so immensely expensive to be in the medical profession. Talk to me about that journey for you and how you managed to navigate the cost effectiveness of it. Emotionally, it was tough. I know you're brand new married, so congratulations there. We'll get to that later. But for the average person who has that dream and understand that to be at the top of your craft, you have to spend 12 and 13 years studying and investing in yourself and, you know, competing against the best. Mentally, how did you prepare yourself for that?
Karia, my passion for medicine, like I already said, it started from very young. And I had a lot of hardships. My mom was an alcoholic. Dad wasn't there, but I knew what I wanted. And it's funny that you speak about the streaming in high school, because I ended up doing 5 accounts, but I still knew what I wanted. So I feel that persons who are interested in the medical field, what you're doing in high school has nothing to do with what your ambition is aligned to. If you are determined to be a doctor, you will be. Because when I finished my 5 accounts training at BVI High School, I then was a little bit nervous about switching my major. So I completed Business Administration Associates at HLSCC. And then I decided, why not take a chance on myself? But the question is, how did I get from switching from doing accounts in high school is free, going to college now, where now I'm getting bills, and then I'm going to switch my major to really start from ground zero,
from scratch
to do
again.
pre-med,
Correct.
And start over. My job was pageantry. Early in my life, when my mother and I had challenges, she ended up having to leave me at age 13. I then had an opportunity to compete in the Miss East End Long Look pageant. And one of the main reasons I competed was the prizes. I was like, okay, so she's gone. I'm responsible to raise myself. How else am I going to make money to get my uniform, get my books, and so on?
Wow.
And so I competed. I didn't win that, but I did get the prizes. And that was my driving motivation to then compete in about 14 other pageants.
14?
Yes, where the prizes were scholarships. So any pageant that had a prize that was a scholarship, put my name on that ticket, I will be there.
Oh, wow.
And so wherever I didn't win, I got my scholarship, and they just stacked up for me. So then when I was ready to go to university, I went to University of the Virgin Islands to do my pre-med. By the time I was ready for that, I just used all the scholarships that I had stacked up at the education department, and I moved on from pre-med to medical school and so on.
Isn't that an amazing story? I never knew that.
Yes.
Girl, you're giving me goosebumps. I can't be crying on my own show, but that gives you the thought of being a resilient person.
Yeah, right.
And that's what you need to be
Absolutely.
in the medical profession anyhow.
Yeah.
Now, Stephanie, I know you had a slightly different story, but overall, the competition in this space is very tough. Even in the pre-med, I can only go based on when I get the many, many calls from my dearest hunter, having a little meltdowns. I was like, child, when you really get to med school, what will happen? Because it's such a competitive space and the very, very stressful topics that I can't help her with.
Right.
Do you want to write an essay? I got you. You want to make a presentation? I'm there. Do not ask me about chemistry and physics and biology, because I cannot help you. But you went to all of your training in the U.S., correct?
I did.
So the question I want to ask you before is the government of the day, and I want to say that with some hesitation because I'm not quite sure. I know this used to be the case. Only supported students in the medical profession if they went to the Caribbean, like
West Indies.
or in the UK.
Yeah.
I have since learned, just because of my daughter, that if you practice or you attain your degree in, let's say, University of the West Indies, you basically are not allowed to practice anywhere else except the Caribbean. You're not allowed. And if I'm incorrect, please let me know.
Sure.
Versus if you attain a degree in the US, which I agree is much more expensive, you're basically board certified in the Caribbean already. You can practice in the Caribbean. That's my understanding. You're shaking your head.
It's similar. So the United States has a process for foreign medical graduates, so people who graduated from medical school outside of the United States, that allows them to come into the United States and train. However, it's much more challenging for foreign medical graduates to get residency programs. So residency is that post-medical school on-the-job training that we do to become specialists in our field. So as an anesthesiology resident, I did my residency at the University of at University of North Carolina is where I did my residency after I completed my medical school at Duke University. And I was a U.S. medical graduate, even though I was an international student. So I was able to do a U.S. medical residency without having to go through additional challenges on that. Versus coming from a non-U.S. medical school, you have other hoops you want that they are required to pass through in order to get into a residency that is recognized as being completed in the United States. Now, Dr. Stoutt-Ottley and I were just speaking prior about her experience doing residency coming from the University of the West Indies and actually completing a residency at Boston University. But it was a different track. Why don't you share some of that?
Yeah. So I don't know if other universities have this program, but Boston University School of Medicine, they have two different tracks. They have the U.S. track, where you're coming in from an American med school and you go into an American residency program, and then you, as an international student, you can actually get into residency so long as you are not going to be working in the U.S. If you do want to work in the U.S., then you're going to have to follow all of the examinations, the USMLEs, and registration and certifications, and so on. But because I knew my goal was I was coming back home, for me, it was a perfect opportunity. It fit.
So there is a stigma that if you are in medical school and you've completed, 13 and 14 years, you have to look like how you guys look. Hence, I am not a doctor. The aesthetics has to be on. Everybody wants to hear the success story of the house and the family and the 2.5 children and the dog and the vacations and all of that stuff. And a lot of times that goal seems to be so unattainable for the average person. As two very successful I love to say that Beaver Islander doctors. That makes me feel so good. What words of encouragement do you have for persons who are here and may not even want to be a doctor, but want to have a job that requires extensive amount of studying, extensive amount of funds that you would need to just give them the courage to just step forward? I thought that your story was exceptional. What other words of encouragement would you have?
So one thing I would tell you is if it's something that you truly want to do, start now, because the time is going to pass whether you do it or not. You know what I mean? It may take 10 years, 5 years, however long it takes, but guess your 10 and 5 years are still going to pass, and you'll either be closer to your dream or you'll still be at the starting point. So that's the first thing, is to just start. The second thing we talked about is really the importance of aligning your aptitude, your potential with commitment and your work ethic. That is what we were talking about previously, the value of having commitment in addition to potential, working together, not giving up when things initially get hard. And if you want to speak a little bit to what we talked about before, that makes a big difference, I think, in terms of not giving up.
So not giving up. You had, not the smoothest track, but you are here. What made you not give up?
Discipline, determination, and drive. If you want something bad enough, there is nothing in this world that can change your mind. So if I were to speak to a younger person who wants to get into the field of medicine or something that, yes, you have to have long training, your determination to have that, to achieve that goal, which is your potential, your aptitude, you have to have that ambition. And once you've decided that this is something you want to do, you need to commit to it. It's not going to always be easy. And that's a challenge that persons have. They look at the timeline. Okay, medicine is going to take 13, 14 years. But what you have to think about is we're living through those 13, 14 years. We're not like just taking a pause from life, go train, and then come back. We actually live through those years.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of the number. The commitment to finish the journey is more important than anything.
So let me just ask you this question. You decided from the beginning that the BVI, you wanted to come back.
Yes.
You wanted the BVI to be your home. And I don't know if you got a chance to see Brother Durham yet.
I've seen just pictures in magazines. It's dramatic. I love it.
It's beautiful.
It's good.
So I remember when I used to take my two little girls to you when you were at Dr. Picksmith's office.
Yes, in my little cubby.
And I could barely turn around.
Yes.
And I had one child here and one child here, and the three of us could barely move. And the expansion is no short of amazing. And so I asked the question of this. You knew you wanted to come home. And it's no detractor for you. We'll get to you right now. We live in your picket fence in a house on a hill. We'll get to you now. But it is so tough to transition back to the BVI because there's such a limited scope, or the perception that the scope is limited, that there's no room to grow, that you have to come back and work for government, you got to work to the hospital, or you work for somebody else. But you were able to kind of erase the narrative and create your own narrative. One of the things I spoke about one of my guests earlier today was this thing about taking risk and trying to create generational wealth. And it starts from some place. It has to start. Now, how did you get the courage? Your space is phenomenal. It looks magazine worthy because it is magazine worthy. It is beautiful. It's in the right space. I don't have to sweat to try to get a parking spot. I mean, everything is just perfect. It's just in the right place. But how did you get the strength, the tenacity, the courage to take that risk to make such a huge investment?
While I was away at residency, I was looking for two different things. I wanted to make sure that I got a sound education. I wanted to make sure that I could be respected in the field that I've chosen, so I had to work hard, get the best grades. I actually was chief resident for 2 years while I was there.
Stop! We love it.
But what I also want to say is the second part to my plan while I was in Boston was to look at what the BVI didn't have. So I assessed my environments at home, and I also assessed where I worked. So I actually wrote my business plan for Brivaderm while I was in Boston doing my residency. I would go to clinic every day. I think about, okay, we do hospital consultations. What tools would I need? I took notes of that. When I go into a room to do a consult, I'm going to check what's the brand of the nitrogen tank, things like that. Where do they get the tips from? And I actually aligned myself with the directors while they were planning out clinics and so on. And I made notes and I made my business plan. And I knew that the BVI didn't have that. So I brought back what was missing. And then initially when I came home, one of the obstacles I met was that there was never a public dermatologist. So that was one of my major obstacles, getting a job. Imagine that. Getting a job, I had to convince the BVI HSA that this was a need. So I actually started off on a trial run to prove to them that this is a need. And within 2-3 months, I was overbooked, more booked than I can even handle.
You don't have to tell me. I have to, every single time I need to see a doc and I call the office, they tell me, I can be calling in June. They're telling me September. I was like, okay, let me just call Dr. Stoutt because. So there is absolutely that need.
Right. And then I just expanded from there.
Let me commend you on having that vision. It takes a vision. It takes determination. And you know the thing says that we're small but we talawa? That reminds me of you because you saw the need and there's absolutely the need and you educated even persons like me who previously, before I had kids, I just thought that, you know, because I was not really into the dermatology field. I just felt it was like, okay, you have bad acne or that kind of stuff. You have a little mustache, you want to get it lasered out. But it's so much more.
Yes.
And the good thing about it, if you go into her office, you see such young people. So I see that you're mentoring and I see that you're giving that space, lending the intelligence to that space that we perhaps were missing before. Such a wonderful story that you have. Consider writing a book. I think it's great. Now, Dr. Vanterpool, you are living in the US of A.
Yes, ma'am.
Great old Tennessee. She said Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yes,
child, that's Trump country, but we know. We love, though, that we have our people representing us internationally. How do you use your platform, if you do, to promote the British Virgin Islands?
Well, it's an interesting question because when I give talks sometimes, I highlight the full circle nature of my current career. In that I came from the British Virgin Islands, I did my training in the United States, and now in no small part due to some prodding I heard from you on a conversation you had with my father.
Get to that.
Oh no, I bring it up for you first.
I see so. She beat me.
Go
ahead.
Yes, and I said, you know what? She's right. So the coming full circle is really part of living out a bigger dream that sometimes you may not even have seen all the parts of the dream. Do you know what I'm saying? So you get a glimpse sometimes of a component of the dream, and then you get another glimpse and another glimpse. And ask me before COVID, in all honesty, I probably would not have been able to envision how I could run a successful targeted pain treatment or pain management practice here in the British Virgin Islands while still maintaining my job in the United States. I thought I had to give up one to do the other. And then one of the very small silver linings of COVID was the expansion of telemedicine and telehealth. And I was able to see how I could evaluate patients over the computer via telemedicine and come up with an accurate diagnosis that I could confirm when I saw them in person, but we could get them started on the road to health and improvement in their pain and function. And that's what gave me the idea, you know what, this might be doable. Now, it so happens that I haven't been able to do telehealth in the British Virgin Islands yet, but coming down and providing the service to folks, and our people are so resilient. I mean, they just deal, you know what I'm saying? They just manage. They may have had this pain for years and they just keep going, and to be able to provide a service that gives them an exhale, a breather. They're not having to worry about if they can wake up out of bed and if it's going to hurt to put their foot on the ground to go to the bathroom. You know, those are the things that I'm blessed and privileged to be able to provide. But when it comes to how to promote the British Virgin Islands within that, it really is just a matter of being the best representation of the British Virgin Islands that I can be wherever I am.
Well, I think you're doing a great job. I think there was a video going around and everybody called Dr. Stephanie Vanterpool the best friend, the sister, church member. I mean, you were everybody's cousin then.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, because we it's a proud moment. It's a proud moment when we see our own people internationally and represent us so well. But it also gives me point to the second phase of the question in terms of our government, and this is not a jab on this government, all of the governments. And I get to say that because this is my show, so I could say whatever. But there is this, you get a scholarship, come home now. Now, we are the same age. I would not have been able to be this well educated without a government scholarship. They did my bachelor's, my master's. I appreciate it. I was fast-tracked straight through the system for the education. So I was able to get my master's, very, very young. I want to say I was 24, and I already had my master's then. So I would never, ever forget and not appreciate that space. However, the pressure to come home right now always reminded me of the fact, even though I'm old and gray, you can't say the gray because I like color, but what if? What if I had stayed? I think now that we understand what exposure means, you being in Knoxville and you being in North Carolina and studying in Duke, brilliant schools, and you going to Boston University, it's important to have that international exposure if you want the best for the BVI. We are limited in what our experience can give us here. We're limited in the material that we have, the equipment that we have, the technology that we have. And you were able to take those copious notes because you were in Boston, one of the best medical places in the USA. And so you had that great exposure. What would you say to the government today? Because you don't work for them either, so you can say whatever you want.
Well, I will tell you this. One of the things that, two things that I'd like to highlight. Number one is encourage all BVI students to follow their passions when they go away. So it's interesting that Shakima mentioned being in 5 accounts and doing business administration and then switching to pre-med, because I did 5 science, went to college as a biology major, and switched to business administration. So I actually went back after I got my medical degree and got my master's in business administration also. And I believe it has made me a better physician and a better leader within my practice for it. So there are so many paths to becoming whatever it is you choose. We had music majors, math majors, science majors, English majors in my medical school class at Duke. And it was not about what your foundation was. It was, do you have the capacity, the aptitude, the empathy to be able to be a very good doctor? So the first thing I would say is encourage your BVI landers to follow their passion, because by following their passion, they will be more successful at what they do, because the passion is going to invigorate and sustain them when things get hard, when they have to commit past it. The second thing I would say is that, as you mentioned, exposure is so key. If I had not practiced in different environments, even before my current position as in an academic institution, I would not know the different snippets of how to run a very small private practice, how to start a hospital-based practice, how to run in a larger group practice. And I bring all of that to my current practice where I'm currently the medical director, but then I'm also able to teach about it to other colleagues. So follow their passion and encourage exposure to other things. And then with those two things, returning home, we're able to bring so much more than just more of the same.
And I couldn't say it a drop better. Why couldn't I hear this 20 somebody years ago? Following your passion is the biggest thing.
Yes.
You guys wanted to be doctors in some shape or form. You knew that's what you wanted to do. I have a friend, her daughter, and I just respect her because even I couldn't get that done. Her daughter went to school just this fall to be a dancer. And I was like, child, I don't know, but her mother is so supportive of that dream. And the young lady is very good. She's exceptional at dancing, and God knows she might be dancing with the stars or whatever it is.
Right.
And that's so. It helps us to not be so tunnel vision.
Right.
I know at 40 somebody years old that I never wanted an office job. No, this is what I love. So now I have to kind of go back. No, and start to follow my passion. And you were asking me, how do you do it? Because I'm here all weekend. And I say, I'm never tired doing this because this is what I love to do. So it's important to follow your passion, and every day feels like it's not a job. And it's important that when you go to get that salary or get that paycheck, it doesn't feel like, oh, Lord, I got to get out of this car for the next 8 hours and deal with these people I really don't like.
Right.
Because it's not your passion. Man, I feel a Charm Academy session coming on just now. And so that's really timely, and I really hope that the right audience sees this because there's no limits to what you can do. Testimony to your conversation, testimony to your talk about doing an MBA. I know I read that, but I thought I misread it. I was like, child, you got an MBA? What are we really doing here? But I understand the reason, the rationale. I understand. And so in terms of your story now, of course, your father, well, I'd say your parents, because I know your mom very well, and I don't know the ins and outs, but I'm pretty sure he couldn't do any of that without her support either.
Right.
So I say your parents have a very thriving medical practice, the biggest in the BVI. And I heard in the Caribbean, in terms of private practice, where a lot of people come from a lot of Caribbean islands to whether Eureka, to Bougainvillea. I want to say I need a little wing of someone of that name after me because I've been there a million times. But great service. And we are so happy that we have the option to have something else. Now, your dad was on this show in your very same seat. Yes, he was in a little bit of a hot seat, but he dealt with it well. He did exceptionally well. I put a little bit of pressure on him. Because I was like, well, you're building all of this. You are a millionaire now. We're not going to ask you what that's not questionable. Who are you building it for? Who is going to come back? Are you going to give it to one of the employees to run? Because if you're not, I mean, Hunter right there, we'll go for some loans. We'll find some investors. And so I ask you now this, and I know you alluded to that a little earlier in terms of now finding a way to transition back. Because I think as parents, and we're all parents, you are too, you have your brother's son, so you understand exactly we want the best for our children.
Right.
All that we do for our children, you sacrifice the most. I'm talking to you guys now. My daughter is flying out today, and I'm like, Lord, please let her be on that plane. Because you think, you breathe, and you dream, and you hope the best. So I said that to say, I know that your parents worked hard to acquire this much. And it's not even about wealth at this point. It's really legacy, if you're asking me. And so the thought of you coming back here and having a U.S., I mean, she got to marry an American husband with an American child. So the transition is going to be a little bit tough. But how is the narrative going? What is your space looking like? Because you're so successful where you're at in Knoxville. I mean, immensely successful. Then there's an extremely successful practice here as well. I mean, a thriving practice. I don't know if I want to be Stephanie Vanterpool right now, but how does that work for you? You don't have to give me a definite answer, but just give me where your headspace is at.
So what I have recognized, similar to what expanded my horizons when it came to trying to establish a practice here, is that I think for too long we have kept ourselves within a confined or constrained border. And meaning that we're not thinking outside the box necessarily. We think it has to be one or the other, it's either or. And I don't necessarily know if that has to be the case. I can tell you that I wouldn't be the physician I was today had I not had the exposures that I had and the experiences that I have in the States. And I'm continuing to grow as a physician and as a leader and as an educator where I am and a researcher. And so that is not necessarily something that I feel has to stop in order for me to contribute to the British Virgin Islands. Indeed, it hasn't. Like, I'm here this week. I have a clinic starting on Monday where I'll be seeing patients who have been waiting to see me since,
months.
To come in, and I'll take care of all these patients, and then I'll come back again in December and in the next couple of months and so on and so forth. So I think the answer has not yet revealed itself, but I believe it's out there. And I believe that it involves an expansion of horizons and an expansion of expanding the pie, so to speak, in terms of negotiation. You talk about either integrative or distributive, where you can either distribute the pie or you can make the pie bigger. And I think that it's something along the expanding the pie idea that is an outside the box solution that may not have yet presented itself, but we're going to keep looking for it.
So, Shay, not only do we have some amazingly qualified sisters here, that they're so well spoken. I mean, she have me here just thinking about her words and trying to internalize those, because normally nobody can speak better than me on my own show, but I mean, what's going on here? But I love it. I love the fact that these are intense, well thought of responses, because that's what I really want, because it has to make sense for all of us. And so there's nothing wrong. I love it. Doing something there and doing something there. Our bodies condition ourselves to kind of adjust to suit whatever situation. And so I know your dear husband, your brand new newlywed husband. You brand new. She's still smiling and blushing, so you know she's really brand new. So you know she's really brand new.
He's doing a good job.
As he should. Talk to us about some of the challenges that you would have. For instance, a young man asked me to be on his show, and I don't ever do anybody's show. I'm just a little bit selfish there because I hate people asking me questions. That's what most talk show hosts do anyhow. Most people don't even see my husband. And that's what he likes. He's very supportive behind the scenes. We ladies were in my little lounge area. He dragged all the chairs, put up the mirrors, all that. And he's going to fuss a little bit, but he's going to do it. So he supports me in that way. And sometimes a balance there is two people can't be alike. And so you're very much in the forefront. You're in queen shows, you're a judge, you're a doctor, everything. You're in magazines, you're on talk shows, you're beautiful, your skin is flawless, all of that wonderful stuff.
Got me blushing.
But we don't know a lot about your husband. So tell me, how has it been as a brand new, newlywed, very much in the public light, and now kind of dragging Mr. Ottley now to be, it's almost like Dr. Shakima Ottley. Well, actually, we're going to give Ottley just because it's polite. But it's Dr. Shakima Stoutt and Mr. Ottley. How has that been for you? Because for me, I know it's okay because I'm doing it for years, but it's brand new for you. How has that transition been?
I wouldn't say it's brand. I mean, we were together for years before getting married.
Okay.
And in fact, Riverderm, he gave me that. He was like the catalyst that allowed me to pursue that with the zeal and the passion and the drive that I had from inside. He always knew that I wanted to do Riverderm. I was walking around with my my business plan, and I would ever so often, he's very patient, so he would listen to me talk about my dreams. And he said, babe, just do it. I got you. And in fact, my office, the little one that we had before, he built it. And when we were moving into our other office, the long nights of painting, sheetrocks, all these things, he's always there. He's that strength that I need to stay creative. Without his strength, all of the ideas that I have, they're going to be a little bit stifled, because as a woman, you're going to have different responsibilities. I mean, even though a lot of us are alpha females, we do things our way, how we want it, but we still want to be homemakers. We still want to be moms. We still have to be wives. And so he creates that nice balance for me. So he loves being in the background. And he just likes to be the supportive end of our partnership. He's actually an actor by trade.
Top play.
Yeah. So he always says that he's a law enforcement officer, and he's like, that's just my job. but I'm an actor by trade.
I love it.
And so he is hoping for his opportunities to act. And he's actually in one of the plays that they're putting on here in the BVI. It's not launched as yet, but you guys will hear about it sooner or later. But you'll see his performance there as well.
We're excited for that.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
Dr. Stop being a supportive wife here.
Of course.
We love it. So we have to take a quick commercial break, but I want to get back to the both of you. I'm so happy we talked about the alpha female, because I had a guest on yesterday who was the epitome of what an alpha is.
Okay.
And talk about those strengths that we have and society standards of us now, perception really that we should dim it down ourselves. So we got to take a quick commercial break because, of course, this is a very expensive process and could not happen without my kind sponsor, Flow. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm always so happy to be here, and more so, extremely happy to have my sisters here, Dr. Stephanie Vanterpool and Dr. Shakima Stoutt-Ottley. We'll be back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Stay tuned.
When your dog rolls over, does it give you double data? Nope, but Flow prepaid mobile plans do. Simply stay topped up and you'll get double data when your Flow 7-day prepaid plan renews. That's up to 6 gigs for you to enjoy. Top up today. Now that's a good plan. Dial *129# to activate and stay topped up. Conditions apply.
How can you connect with people authentically from the heart? Nothing replaces the human connection better than communication. And nothing will be able to get you further along than to connect with other people. Today, I am offering you personalized one-on-one coaching on public speaking, negotiation, body language, all the necessary tools to make an impactful statement. It's about shoulders back, head straight, mastering the power pose, and giving your audience of 1, 100, or even 1,000 the biggest impact that you can dream of. I take you on a personalized journey in a private setting, holding your mic, standing at the lectern, and being authentically you, true to yourself, being a better communicator. My services will ensure that you are prepared for your next job interview, accepting a public contract, speaking at a wedding, a campaign event, addressing the boardroom. The possibilities are endless. We will ensure that you are prepared and ready to shine, no matter the audience. My many years in front of the camera with thousands of interviews, hundreds of hosting engagements, dozens of boardroom deliveries, and yes, my certifications have prepared me to teach you the tricks of the trade and prepare you for your next big step in life. I cannot think of anything in life where communication is not important. I am Karia Christopher of the Charm Academy, where we will make your voice your best asset to help you succeed. Call us today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I am your host, Karia Christopher, here with my two alpha ladies. We left really talking about society's perception on what these strong personalities can be. And so I wanted to get to that side, taking off the doctor role, if I can, for just a minute. You got to be kind of assertive in this space. It's a competitive space. It's open to a lot of legal suits too. We didn't discuss the fact that we are in a very litigious community where we will sue if you stare at us a little bit too hard. And so with that, you got to be on your A game almost 24 hours a day. And so that forces you to be assertive. You got to know what you want to do. However, we're still in a world where we look at females and we have the perception that a female with a strong personality is looked at as the angry black woman. Now, you especially, Dr. Stephanie, in living in America, having all of those labels, black, woman, oh my God, how does that affect your ability to be the best Stephanie Vanterpool that you can be, and try to navigate the labels that people just drop on you?
You know, it's challenging. Over the course of my career, I have developed personally and professionally. You can't have one form of development without the other.
Correct.
Otherwise, you'll be lopsided. When I talk about knowing what it is that I want and going after it, it's a matter of identifying, first of all, what is your vision? What is the clarity of your vision, and figuring out how to get there, and then continuing to get yourself, develop the tools and the skills to allow you to get there effectively. I listen to a lot of personal development books. I actually have a professional coach, an executive coach also that I work with, that has helped me a lot. But it's continuing to get better. It's iterations to continue to get better. But the confidence or the clarity of vision comes first, and then the seeing the path on how to get there comes second. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about how important it is to also be faith-based and faith-directed. For me, that's really important. One of my core values is to be faith-directed. And whenever I have tried to do it on my own, I have struggled and fallen. Whenever I've tried to do it within what I believe God has for me, it's kind of like the difference between being in the boat in the storm and being in the water on the storm. You know what I mean? Like, I'm either, you can be in the same storm, but if you're in the boat, it's a different experience than if you're in the water.
You can survive in the boat.
Right. And so it's a combination of continuing to develop professionally, maintaining my focus on being faith-directed, and remembering that it's not about me. Nothing I do is about me. And whenever I make it about me, that's when it tends to not go well.
Oh, I love that refreshing answer.
Yeah.
Dr. Shakima, now you are not practicing in a BVI, but I'm sorry, in the US, my apologies, but in the BVI. However, I think that your challenges are a little bit different. In a lot of cases, perhaps even a little bit tougher, because everybody knows everybody. And the world is so small. The space is so small. You say something that somebody doesn't agree with, and they try to tarnish your name, and there's not a whole lot of people to now market your business to. We established that you have to have certain alpha characteristics to be successful. I think in any role, in any management role, if you want to be your own boss, if you want to be the top of your game, there are certain alpha characteristics that you have to have. Talk to me about the challenges that you would have trying to navigate those in our small community, where a lot of the population still thinks that a woman should, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't, because I know that the news likes to pick up on my stories, but a woman should come home and cook for their husband and serve the food. And even though you work 9, 10, 12, 13, 14 sometimes hours, the expectation is still to take that alphaness and leave it at Brevardom and bring home the more submissive wife, and the man is the head of the household. I'm not going to touch what that is, yes or no, here. Off camera, we'll decide on that. But how have you gotten to navigate that space and do it successfully? Talk to me about that challenge that you might have had.
I mean, I like how Stephanie talked about having a faith-based perspective in life. All of my goals, my aspirations, I speak to God directly about them. I live my life by my own rules, and I honestly feel that I don't have the typical challenges because I don't allow them access to me. I feel that once you have a positive outlook, just learning that energy is transferable. So if you're receiving negative energy, like in the BVI, people might say things, there might be rumors, whatever. That's negative energy. And I just decide which part of that energy I want to receive. If it's not something I'm able to handle or don't want to deal with, then I just convert it to positive. I move away from that environment, and I actually go home to my partner. That's the next thing in terms of being a woman in business. You develop partnerships. My marriage, my husband is my partner. So there are no rules in our house where I have to come home, cook the dinner, wash the laundry, so on. It's more of who's available at the time. If he notices that, okay, this week she's having a rough time, staying at work late, he's going to fix dinner. If I notice that he's out late, it's more of we work in tandem. It's a partnership. So I think creative business or professional women out there who are deemed alpha females, they do need that balance of a partnership, spiritually and in your relationship with your partner.
So, Dr. Stephanie, what do you say to persons? And I agree with that answer to a point. I had a guest yesterday. She talked about, and she is really high level, brilliant, perhaps one of the most articulate guests I've had in a long time as a single guest. And she talked about when she started to be at the table at the boardroom, she was the only female there, and they expected her to, was it serve coffee shade or something, gain water? And she absolutely did not move. And so she has built up as a coping mechanism. She is very serious. She is very pro-female without apologies. And no, I said it to say, a lot of people in that space, I'm not saying that she has this particular mannerism, don't feel that there's room for a man or a spouse. We have a lot of people who are 30s, 40s, and even 50s who navigate this world solo and are comfortable with it because they're their own boss, and there's not a lot of space in their personal life for a partner, for somebody to report to, for lack of a better word. What are your feelings on that?
So I can't speak for others. I can only speak for myself when I say that for me, relationship and empathy and connection is key to me as a person. So I need to be connected not just with my spouse, but with my family and with my friends in order for me to feel like I am in alignment. I talk a lot about the concept of alignment when I speak about navigating these challenges of business, professional, family, all of these things. And I describe it as if you have a car on the road and the wheels are out of alignment or the tires are out of alignment, it pulls to one side or the other. It's harder to keep it in the road. So for me personally, my version of alignment requires me to have connections that are meaningful, empathetic, and engaged with my husband, my family, my friends. But the thing about alignment I've noticed in my personal life is that what you need to stay in alignment in my current stage in life is very different from what I needed when I was at the beginning of my training, and maybe different from what I need going forward. So it's almost like balance. Balance is actually not static. It is you will make adjustments to stay in balance. If you see a gymnast on a balance beam, they are making adjustments to stay in balance so they don't fall off. They're not staying completely still necessarily. Yeah. And that's what alignment is for me. It's really about, for me personally, I need to have that connection. I need to have the support, but I also know where my strength comes from in all the different arenas.
I love that answer. I love that answer. She is in a very diplomatic way, Shane. What Dr. Stephanie is saying is that she needs her man there, and I love that. Yes. And obviously we know that for you, Miss Brand New Newlywed, and I appreciate that. Even though I am perhaps more alpha, I enjoy a good husband. I enjoy the conversations. I enjoy the banter, the debate. I enjoy the fact that I can be as mad as I want to be with him. And if he doesn't call me 12 o'clock, he normally doesn't check on me, I'm big mad all day. So I enjoy the sense of security. Yeah. And I understand, though, where other people who perhaps have not experienced it, just put a blanket, say, I don't need it. And no judgment there, because every person has to travel their own pathway to get their own assessment. But I like that you two ladies are able not to discount that extra layer of love and protection is something that completes you. Yes. We love it. I know that I'm out of time. I'm going to have to get some more sponsors to get these shows to be a lot longer. But I want to leave you ladies with some words to the public. Now, I ask you ladies to be here, you doctors, you esteemed women, because I thought that you had a story to tell. I know that you have much more to say, but time has not permitted us to say everything. But the embodiment of what you're saying now just gives me goosebumps all over again. And I will make sure I send this to my girls to watch, because I have said it before. I'm going to say it every time I get a chance. Once you educate a woman, you educate the world. And I truly believe in allowing girls and women to have limitless lives and limitless potential, because we get to what we see here. Not only persons that are very successful, but nurturers. That's what we are by nature. Nurturers. And if we're nurturers by nature, we produce great people. Testimony to what you've already done again. So I'm going to start with you, Dr. Stoutt-Ottley, when you look into this camera here, and you really get to tell the others a little bit about something positive for your journey and some encouraging words to get to whatever space you want to be in them.
I like to always mention the 3 words that drive me: discipline, determination, and drive. Whatever it is that you're determined to do, whatever goal you've set, if you have potential in something, please put that level of determination, that level of drive, and then commit to the journey. Because without commitment, you can never finish. You can never see the end goal, the success of what you actually plan to do. So with anything that you decide to do, discipline, determination, be driven, and commit to the finish for your success.
Wow. You see these guys, gals, doctors are super intelligent. I couldn't have said that better if it was written down. Thank you so much, Dr. Stoutt-Ottley. I mean, amazing. Beautiful insight and out. Thank you so much, Dr. Vanterpool. Please give us some encouraging words. Encourage me, encourage our audience. Not to necessarily be like you, but to be their best selves.
You know, it's interesting. One of the things that came to me was another alliteration similar to the 3 Ds that Dr. Stoutt-Ottley mentioned, but mine is aptitude, alignment, and ambition. And so I say aptitude because aptitude is different from ability. Aptitude is your potential that you have to work to develop. And so you may have an aptitude for something, but it still takes work. And so you want to be able to put that work in to get to where you need to be, to commit and to not give up. But then, of course, you've got to have ambition. You don't want to let anybody limit your ambition. You don't want to let the current circumstances circumscribe your dreams to where you cannot go beyond what you currently see. Don't limit yourself to only what you can see, but be ambitious and trust the ambition that you've been given. And finally, remember, alignment is so key. It has been so key in my life to make sure that I find alignment and stay in alignment. What that looks like for you may be different, but for me it involves your healthy restorative relationships and meaningful purpose-driven productivity. That is the definition of alignment that I have for myself. Find your definition of alignment and stick to it, and you will be so much better off and able to achieve your dreams.
Ladies and gentlemen, I could not have said it any better. What a way to start today's Sunday for us. I'm not sure when the show will be airing, but what a day to start my week, my Monday, as we go forward professionally. You ladies make me, I cannot say it anymore, so proud, so very, very proud. And when we say the BVI has produced some of the greatest, I promise you, your names are already etched in history. You've already made your own historical mark in the territory. So continue to do whatever you're doing at the best that you continue to do. You inspire and you amaze us continually. And thank you. I know that you're busy. So thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to spend some time out here with Real Talk in the Karia Christopher Studios. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have promised to love and laugh and live and learn. And I think in this hour we've done just that. These ladies have inspired us and given us perspective on what it takes to be in the space that you want to be and your greatest self. So I thank you. I'm always very humbled when I get the calls and the emails and the WhatsApps and the messages. And I understand that persons take everything that I say very seriously. And I agree and I tell you for sure that I take this job very seriously as well. So I want to thank you, thank the public for all of the support. And of course, thank my biggest supporter monetarily, Flo, for giving me this amazing platform. Flo, I thank you. BVI Caribbean the World. Have a wonderful week and thank you and God bless you all. Real Talk is proudly powered by Flo, sponsored by Nagico Insurances.